Good afternoon, everyone. Morning, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the latest one-to-one digital dialogue. I'm joined today by my old friend and very, very sort of famous individual, Derek Munro. Derek's a special character because he's the founder of something called Super Yacht Charities, which, if you don't know about it, it's a very, very worthwhile group of people who put together some seriously good initiatives on making money for the most worthwhile causes out there. On top of that, Derek also does things like build boats and runs a company called Divergent Yachting, and he's got plenty of experience in the market. So, Derek, good morning, good afternoon. How are you? Are you well?
Very well, thanks, Martin. Yep, enjoying the lovely weather we've had in the UK for a change.
Yeah, it's not too shabby, not too shabby. So, listen, Derek, we've had lots of conversations over the years. These are nice, sort of short, punchy, candid conversations about what we would like to do better. But before we do that, how's life in the world of Divergent?
Yeah, Divergent's going along very well, actually. We're a nice small company at the moment. We've got a nice small fleet with a good team of people in the office, regular communications with the captains and crew. It's been interesting during the coronavirus period, what's happened and stuff. But, you know, it's ticking along nicely. It's growing, and that's all I wanted it to do.
Perfect. And essentially what you're doing is fleet management on a very technical level. Is that correct? And operational?
Yeah, we're basically just a yacht management company. We're just keeping our ratio of boats to yacht managers as low as possible. And the idea being that the yacht managers, we've got 4 in the office at the moment. They know all the crew by name. They're on top of everything. And they are, you know, we're not going to get rich doing it, but we're giving a good service and everyone's happy, and everyone goes home to bed at night and sleeps well, and apart from when they get midnight calls. But yeah, it seems to be getting good feedback. We're getting good comments from the people we're working with, and we've had a lot, you know, in the last 3 or 4 weeks, more inquiries. So I can't complain, Martin. You know, it's a nice change from flying to shipyards every week.
Yeah, good stuff. And you're probably most famous for your project management and involvement in the wonderful Black Pearl. How's she at the moment?
She's very good. She's actually out sailing. Anyone sailing around the coast of Montenegro, Croatia area, if today or tomorrow or the next week or so, we'll see her out there. And the crew are having a great time. I spoke to the captain a couple of hours ago, and the weather's lovely, and he's very happy with the way the boat's performing. And yeah, she's doing very, very well.
Good stuff. So, Derek, on our one-to-one dialogues, we try and get to some sort of candid, honest conversation. Tell me, what are the most frustrating things that you've discovered or you experience in this market? You had shared lots of beers over frustrations.
Yeah, I think you know, as we're trying to attract new, younger clients to the industry, I think we really need to try and sort out this reputation that we have of not being upfront and not being transparent, and clients not knowing exactly where all their funds are going, and are people taking funds they shouldn't be, and everything else. And I'm not sure how we do it, but I'm pretty sure there must be a way nowadays that we can open things up more, so clients can see a lot more about how, you know, where their funds are going, what we're doing exactly, better communications. There's so much online stuff now for tracking all these things that, yeah, it would be nice to see it cleaned up in that manner. I think the rest of the industry is pretty good.
Yeah.
But it's just the way we communicate with our client and what we show them, and especially right at the beginning of a build project. You get a lot of new clients, especially coming in, and then halfway through a build. I mean, I've been building boats now for 15, 16 years, and a percentage of those have been great and easy, but there's always a few where they come in and go, why is this costing me so much? I wasn't told about this. And I think, you know, we really do need to be a lot more honest and upfront with clients at the very beginning, so that they're buying something they can afford, they're spending what they're expecting to spend over the course of the build and potentially into the running of the boat. And there's no surprises for them, you know, along the way that give them a shock and kind of frighten them off.
Yeah, I think it's a fairly common theme that we hear about, is this sort of unexpected cost, or these hidden extras. Who's to blame?
Well, I mean, yeah, from my point of view, it starts at the front. So who's the client dealing with at the beginning of the project? It could be an owner's rep, it could be a captain, it could be a broker.
Yeah.
It could be his office representative, the way it's going nowadays, his family office. But really, they need to get people in who understand the industry up front, and someone who's going to be honest with the client and say, look, this is what it'll cost. Plus, you're going to have X, Y, and Z. And then when the boat's launched, you will have to cover insurance every year, and every 2.5 years, you're going to have a dry docking, and every 5 years, you're going to have a big one, and X, Y, Z. And your crew will expect, as people do ashore, a percentage pay rise if possible. They'll be looking for bonuses, and all of these things you should be thinking about now, about do you really want to get into it and have this expense down the track. I mean, I think buying the boat is, everyone says, is the easiest part, but obviously you need the money to do it. It's the running the boat that really does start to niggle at them a bit and put them off.
Yeah, because I think you can define a build cost fairly well with what information is available. You've got people who can give information from the shipyards, but there's that total cost of ownership element that becomes some of the hidden extras. But also, from what I think is an issue that needs addressing, is this whole topic of who is the person that gives the information, who's the person that is qualified to give that advice or information. This is one of the things I question in the market sometimes, and you and I have talked about it in the past. Who is the real expert to give advice?
Well, it's a good question. Is it the broker, or is it an independent owner's rep like me, or the number of others that are out there? There's a lot of very experienced people who have been doing this for a long time, who've been running boats, who have built boats, and who have worked with clients very successfully. And you've had a couple of them on this one-to-one already. And I think that's really where the client needs to get his team in place. And in that team, he should listen to all the feedback. Yes. Because they've all got different experiences, and they've all got different positives or negatives to put into the story. And even the negatives have to be heard, because if you hear the negatives up front, you can do something about it. If you don't ever hear about it, then it's going to raise its ugly head at some point, and that's going to cause a lot of anger and stress that is unnecessary. So I think a buyer should be looking at vetting his team, ask around the industry. As I said, there's lots of very good people out there who have built a number of boats, and they have a great deal of experience. But look at the big picture. It's not just the construction. It's the interior stuff. Who's going to sit there and buy all your linen and your crockery and your cutlery and your glassware and your bits and pieces that add up to potentially huge amounts of money, when in actual fact the client must say, well, actually, I'm quite happy with IKEA. I don't need all this splash stuff. This is what I have at home, and this is what I'm happy to use. But usually we all run in there and go, oh, it's a big boat. They want the best. And these budgets come in, and they're just sitting there, and you can see their eyes. There's just silence for a moment as they absorb the horror, and then the discussion starts. But actually, that discussion probably should have taken place earlier. Yeah. You mentioned a very interesting term, which is the word team. Yep.
And I think that's where sometimes you get these very convoluted teams where there's one or two egos that always want to have supremacy. A team should be all working together for the common goal, and that sometimes isn't the case. Is that right? Yeah,
definitely. And the team, and when you're building a boat, the team includes the shipyard side. It's not just the owner's side. The owner's team obviously have a goal, and that is to make sure the boat's built to the contract, the specification, and as the client wishes, and what is his vision, and what does he want to do, and how does he want to use it. The shipyard, you need to pull them into that vision, and you need to work with them. There's no point sitting there banging heads all the way through the project, because nothing will be achieved. So if you can get the shipyard to understand the client's ethos as early as possible, that makes a huge difference. And I think probably all of us who have built a number of boats would have learned from our mistakes in that area, where we went in and we bashed, thinking that we were doing the best thing for our clients. And you realize 3/4 of the way through, when you say something to the shipyard and they go, well, no one told me that that's what he wanted to do. And it's like, well, yeah, fair call. That's my fault. We should have done that, because you would have looked at it slightly differently. And yeah, so the team is everybody.
Yeah, yeah. So the title of this is called The New Build. So, okay, let's look forward and look beyond 2020, which has been a very unprecedented year. What would you like to change about our marketplace, our industry, to improve that new build landscape? Because that's part of our industry's sort of, let's say, bread and butter and our growth, if you like. More big boats, more new clients trying the build program, which if you have the right people involved, as you know, the build program is fantastic fun for the right client.
It should be. The client should really enjoy it because it's an exciting time of his life. And, at the end of it all, he's got this amazing product that he wanted, you know, and it might be, for example, it might be a production yacht, but he's changed something in there. So it's slightly different to the other one. And the classic is the AML's limited editions. They're all technically the same. But if you get in there and put your interior in it and your exterior stuff in it, then at the end of it, when it's launched and on show for everyone to see, the client, I've seen clients do that, they stand back and go, yeah, that's mine. I'm really happy I made that decision. It's a great time for them. And that's what you need to carry on throughout the life of the boat. And that's, by having a good team on board the boat, a good team supporting the boat and everything else. I think we rush into deals. We seem to rush into deals because we want to, get the build done. We want to get it signed. And I'm talking generally as an industry because I'm not a yacht broker and stuff like that. But I tag on yacht brokers. I worked for yacht brokers in the past and stuff, so I'm part of that process. And we rush in there, and what we really should do is just slow things down a bit. And if possible, this is where it comes down to the shipyards with their build slots and how they manage their build slots. And that's probably the difficult part, because as you and I have discussed before, and we've had mentioned at a couple of the forums, is I think we really need to have this LOI period as long as possible, 6 months to a year, where you can really go, especially if it's a big boat and it's a custom boat. I mean, that's totally different if it's a production or a semi-custom boat. The way you approach the different projects is very different, and the teams you put in probably slightly differs. But for a big custom project, you need to get in there, sort your specification out with the shipyard team, with the client and his team, and make sure that you get as much in there as possible. And that can take 6 to 12 months quite easily, depending on the size of the project. And the more you define what's going in, actually the faster the build process will be. And there'll be none or very, very few VTCs. And that's what you really want in a build project.
No, 100%. I think this idea of planning and discussion and evaluating and predicting what the client wants is sometimes halfway through the build in some cases. And you hear it all the time, the changes that come into these projects that are delaying the process for the yard and also causing cost to everyone. So it's just, surely we've got to learn how to, let's say, communicate with the client as to this upfront time with an LOI is so much more valuable as a process in this current world. It would build a better boat. Surely we know that. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, obviously there's going to be a cost related to that, and that I think is something that could be very transparent and defined, and shipyards need to say, well, you can have 6 months and it's X for the LOI. If you want 12 months, then the cost is Y, and this is the reasons, because we've got a slot and we need to do this and we need to move whatever around. And I think if they were transparent about that and everything, the client would be happy with it. I think the possibility is there to do something. It just takes a little bit of change of attitude.
Yeah, agreed. What else would you like to see change?
More customers, young people, greener stuff, technology. There's a lot going on with hydrogen at the moment. I've noticed on LinkedIn and everything else. Hydrogen's really big this week for some reason. Where's that going? Alternative fuels, where are they going? Battery development is huge right now, and that's like cell phones. It's changing all the time. Big on why motorboats not doing silent ship at nighttime with a battery bank. Even if it was just for 3 or 4 hours, it makes a difference to the environment, and it makes a difference overall. Obviously, I'd love to see more sailboats out there. I'd love to see more boats using the regeneration and the batteries and the solar technology that is available, and they could easily become zero fossil fuels.
Yeah.
But it costs more upfront. But you'll get that back in the long run.
So that question you had about this new client base and sort of attracting new people, what's your perspective on that? How do we do that from your, let's say, side of the market, your perspective?
Yeah, I think we need to make it more transparent and somehow a little bit more sexy.
Yeah.
The beach shots and the people sitting by the jacuzzi and all of that, that's great. But I think the new clients are potentially going to be these adventure seekers. The guys on their boat to Iceland, down the mountain, and arrive and 100 feet from the boat, and off they go, and then they're windsurfing and kite surfing somewhere a couple of weeks later. And I think that kind of opportunity is something that's not promoted enough in the industry. Anyone can go to the beach, anyone can rent a boat, but not everyone can go somewhere remote and have a video of them kite surfing somewhere where probably only 3 people have done it before, or where there's no one around, that sort of thing.
A bit like your Everest picture in the background. There's that undiscovered or unexplored territory, basically, that we need to try and inspire and stimulate, because I think you're right. There's an element of predictability, and it may not turn people on, because I think from what you and I have talked about in the past and what we see in the marketplace today, there's a lot of stuff that really is not that exciting. There's a lot of repetition or the same old, same old. So when you mention about hydrogen and all the various new tech that costs more, it's how do you present that to a new client without them thinking high risk? And is it the client who may think it's high risk, or is it the people who are going to build that would be concerned, or maybe steer him back to convention?
Well, I think they both have high risk with it, but that's really good classification.
Yeah.
Classification up to date with what we want to do. Are they, do they understand how we're going to store hydrogen yet, or are they going to wait and do catch up? When we did the batteries on Black Pearl, we spent nearly 9 months doing the hazard with Lloyd on how to store them. And really, that should have already been done before, because batteries have been around for a long time. So I think we need to get class up to date, because once they are up to date and they have a rule in place, the ship goes, okay, I understand what I have to do. That has a defined cost within the scope of the bill. And then the clients, I guess, it's convincing them that looking forward, it's costing you 50 or 100 pounds or more, but you'll save that in 5 years.
I think it goes back to that communication and transparency of the value proposition, the upfront cost versus the life cycle cost. These stories need to become much more transparent. Okay. So your expectation for the future, Derek, is what? What do you think we are looking forward to?
I think we're looking forward to a bit of growth, and I think it's going to come in the next 2 or 3 years. I think we might be more to move probably to 60 range. Hopefully green tech, obviously sustainability. But I think if we do the marketing right, we're going to grow. It's there for the young people behind us. There is hope ahead, I believe. As long as we manage it properly and we don't, put them all off with too much BS.
I think that's a key factor, isn't it? It's how we build the next client base and build that relationship for the long term. Because as you and I know, if a client loves it and gets really into it, it's a long-term process, and it's 5, 6, 7 years of a build program, or an idea and concept and build program, and could be 10, 15 years of use. And they should be fantastic years if they build the right boat. And what we want to do is make sure we start building the right boat for the client.
That's exactly right. And as you just said, there's those clients who enjoy it stay for a long time, and then it's not one boat, but it's 2, 3, 4, 5 boats, and then hopefully the family gets involved and everything as well. But those are the people we want, and we need to nurture those people and look after them properly.
Yeah, absolutely. Derek, wonderful to talk to you. Thanks a million for your time.
Pleasure.
And I'll see you again, and we'll have a beer.
As always, Mark.
All right, listen, thanks a million.
Take care.
Take care.
See you later.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.